Ready in 10, 9, 8. Mics are hot. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Fade in bumper music. Roll track and take it to open. Ready 2 and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take 2 and cue talent.
Potholes are plaguing the streets of Morgantown, causing damage to cars that can add up to big bucks. Now, what does the Morgantown City Council plan to do about it? I'm Kristen Toole.
And I'm CJ Harvey. Not many people understand what it's like to live in a third world country, but an event in Morgantown is providing residents some insight right in their own backyard.
These stories and more on our special edition of WVU News, the 360 Experience, a newscast shot entirely in 360 video for an immersive broadcast.
So that means all of our stories, including our newscast itself, is shot using 360 cameras, so you can control the viewing direction by just dragging the video around. It's a form of virtual reality, and we hope you enjoy it. Potholes are everywhere in Morgantown.
The West Virginia rowing team is nearing the home stretch of the season
to help change the life of a family in need.
A reality check using props. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice brought a pile of cow manure to the state capitol. Why? Well, it was his way of showing he thought the state budget bill was a bunch of BS, and that's why he vetoed it.
Justice showed lawmakers what he thought of the $4.1 billion budget by criticizing funding cuts.
He also traveled to WVU recently on a Save Our State tour. Reporter Scotty McMorrin was there and has this report.
West Virginia is one of 3 states alongside Kentucky and Oklahoma that has cut spending for higher education 2 years in a row. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice says he hopes that former Governor Earl Ray Tomlin's 4.4% proposed budget cuts to higher education across West Virginia isn't a hindrance to education in the state.
I love West Virginia University beyond good sense because I see not only our name and I see not only our success, but I see what you echo all across our hilltops, all across this great world, just how valuable you are to all of us. Now,
we have to make certain that we are that we're doing the right kinds of things, that we continue to invest in those things that are going to make a difference for West Virginia.
I think we look at higher ed all the time and just glean some more off of higher ed. And what's going to happen for that is services are going to go down, or the pass-through of increased tuition is going to come to you. That's just all there is to it.
Since the 2007-2008 fiscal year, West Virginia's higher education spending is down by 23%, which is 3% more than the national average of 20%.
Okay.
Scotty McMorrin, WVU News, Morgantown.
That story was shot and produced by members of our 360 team, Chris Scopoletti and Kevin Zhao. With budget cuts and tax increases on the horizon, many communities are concerned about what the future has to offer. But for many immigrants, America is still the land of the American dream. So what is it like to come from a third world country? Well, the Compassion Experience gives an opportunity for residents to step into an impoverished country without ever leaving their own city. Reporter Brianna Parks has that story from Morgantown.
This is my favorite place, my Compassion Center. Before I came here, I used to cry a lot. I would cry because my stomach hurt, or because I saw my friends with their dads. But here, there are no tears for me.
In just over 2,000 feet of exhibit space, Morgantown residents were able to step into the lives of children living in places like Kenya, Guatemala, and Uganda. During the interactive experience, visitors put on headsets to hear each child's story about living in extreme poverty. More than 1.2 billion people live in extreme poverty on less than $1.25 a day. And nearly 800 million of those people are without clean drinking water and enough food to eat. Visitors were able to go inside the markets, schools, and homes of poor families. But for those that want to go beyond observing, sponsorships are being offered to help change the life of a family in need. Emily Black sponsored a child in India when she was just 16 years old.
Was just one letter I got from him that said he was really terrified because his family lived in the equivalent of a tent, and there were so many of them, and it was very dangerous because it was not a good thing to be a Christian in India, and they were being persecuted and pursued by other people who were trying to harm them. I just am so thankful for the opportunity that Compassion gave me to not only give back to someone who is less fortunate than I am, but also just to love on people who live a different life than me.
In developing countries, 7 out of every 100 will not live past age 5. But a sponsored child is able to spend 4,000 hours in safe nurturing programs, is 50% more likely to graduate college, and 18% more likely to have salary employment. Brianna Parks, WVU News, Morgantown.
That story was shot and produced by members of our 360 team, Emily Patero and Shayla Klein. There are over 3.5 million burglaries each year in the U.S. Of the burglaries reported, 27% happen when the homeowners are home through an unlocked door or window. Joining us now from the WVU News control room, Scotty McMorrin will tell us more on how we can better protect our homes. Scotty?
Thanks, Kristen. With break-ins being reported every 13 seconds in the United States, keeping not only our homes, but our families safe becomes a top priority. I sat down with a Morgantown resident who had his property stolen during a home invasion to find out what you can do to better protect your home and your family.
It's an uneasy feeling to know that someone has been in your house. That's how Joe Nelson felt when someone stole his PlayStation from his home in Morgantown. But Joe is lucky because most burglars leave you with nothing at all. They look for easy targets and can be in and out of your house in less than 10 minutes. That's why it's so important to remember to lock your doors.
So it was pretty basic. I mean, yeah, it was around 9 o'clock. I'm looking. Normally, something would be right where I'm pointing at. The same place where my fresh $300 PS4 was. It's not there now. I was in a state of shock. I was in a state of loss, denial. I'm thinking, should I call the police immediately? What do I have to do?
A lot of thieves will go by and check for unlocked doors, and even if you're leaving for 5 minutes, that's all it takes to enter your residence and take things. So the best way is to make sure everything's locked.
Since the incident, Joe bought a new PlayStation and he never forgets to lock his door. Shayla Klein, WVU News, Morgantown.
While the majority of break-ins in the U.S. are non-violent, police urge residents to secure all windows and doors, even when leaving for a short time. CJ, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Scotty. That story was shot and produced by Emily Patero and Shayla Klein. Morgantown residents have been dodging, veering, and swerving on the roads, all to avoid those Morgantown potholes that could cost thousands of dollars in damages each year. And that's why I took a look into what is being done to help Morgantown pave its way into the future. In 2015, the Morgantown City Council had passed the user fee. It takes $3 out of everybody's weekly paycheck, but the goal was to use that money to help pave some of the major roads in Morgantown as the population has continued to grow over the past couple of years. And so we're actually going down some streets showing where some maintenance is needed, where some of the spots that really need some repairs, I guess you could say, are really necessary. Potholes are everywhere in Morgantown, and depending on the road, they can fluctuate in size because of bad winter conditions. If the temperatures come up and go down, some can get as big as 3 feet wide, and in some cases, 4 inches deep. It's small roads like this that are even impacted because of Morgantown's growing population, which has actually increased by almost 50% in the last 20 years, which is one of the reasons new city manager Paul Brake says it's so vital for the city to update and maintain as many roads as possible in the Morgantown area.
So I think there's a lot of careful thought that's put into this of the traffic, the local street paving project to address some local streets that have been ignored and neglected for a long period of time, and to really come up with a good system that we can have a continuous paving program. And so when a street reaches the end of its natural life, that we have the ability to either reconstruct or rehabilitate.
Now this stretch between 8th Street and 3rd Street here on Grant Avenue is actually going to be paved here in 2017. Starting in 2018 though, the city manager's office is going to compile a list of all of the roads that they plan to pave for the next 10 years. The goal is to come up with a consistent cycle between the next 10 and 15 years of which roads need to be paved, but all of that information is actually going to be put on their website for anybody to check out and see when your road is going to be paved. For WVU News here in Morgantown, I'm CJ Harvey.
That story was shot and produced by Chris Scopoletti and Kevin Zhao. Potholes, maintenance, gas, and insurance, owning your own car is expensive.
In fact, AAA reports that the average car owner has to dish out nearly $10,000 a year just to own and operate a vehicle.
Tessa Iglesias joins us now to tell us how you can have all the convenience of having a car when you need it without the money or the hassle. Tessa?
Thanks, Kristen. Reports say the Zipcar craze is taking off all over the world, with a car being rented every 6 seconds. And renting a car has never been this easy. By using a computer or smartphone, anyone can rent a Zipcar with just a swipe of their finger. So just how popular is renting one of these Zipcars? Well, get this, every 6 seconds a Zipcar is rented somewhere in the world. And it's not just about saving money, it's also good for the environment. Because for every car shared, there are 15 less private cars on the highway.
Zipcar is a car-sharing company that provides rental cars to members, billable by the hour or day. And WVU has now partnered with Zipcar. Having a set of wheels to do everything from errands to job hunting or attending a wedding can easily be done by reserving a Zipcar through this app. And owners say the convenience of this service is why almost 1 million people around the world rent Zipcars.
Why do you usually rent a Zipcar?
Well, the thing is, I don't have a car, and when I moved here, I tried to get a car, but it was such a hassle. Then I figured out Zipcar is actually pretty practical and pretty cheap too, for especially when you live in Morgantown. It's like I don't need a car most of my days here, so this is a way like to I don't have to pay insurance. I don't have to like buy a car. I can just jump in a car like the Zipcar and just be on my way.
You can apply for a yearly Zipcar membership on the app or online within minutes. Gas and insurance are free. Zipcar users are provided a gas card in their rental to cover all fuel costs. So there is no need to worry about refilling the tank after renting.
That story was shot and produced by Emily Patero and Shayla Klein. There are Zipcar locations on both the downtown and Evansdale campuses. If you want more information on how to rent one, you can visit their website. CJ and Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Tessa. And while many students have different ways of getting around campus, not many WVU students can say that their main method of transportation and exercise is by boat.
Sports reporter Andrew Creedy will join us next to tell us more about the WVU women's rowing team.
Potholes are everywhere in Morgantown.
The West Virginia rowing team is nearing the home stretch of the season.
To help change the life of a family in need.
Welcome back to our special edition of WVU News, the 360 Experience, a newscast shot entirely in 360 video for an immersive broadcast.
And that means all of our stories, including our newscast itself, is shot using 360 cameras, so you can control the viewing direction by just dragging the video.
Now, rowing was first introduced as an intercollegiate sport in 1848 at Yale University, but over the years it has spread all across the United States.
That's right, Kristen, and right here at WVU, the women's rowing team is hard at work training. Sports reporter Andrew Creedy has more. Andrew?
Thanks, CJ and Kristen. The WVU women's rowing team has its eye on a national championship, but first they'll have to achieve consistency. And that can be tough to do in such a physically taxing sport such as rowing. Think about it as playing back-to-back games of basketball. So in order to figure out what was going on with the rowing team, I talked to some team members to see what they do in order to prepare themselves for the big meet.
Keep it going. All right, side step. Roll to the water. Ready, roll. Keep it up high, high, high. Push the boat out and place.
The West Virginia rowing team is nearing the home stretch of the season, and even with a fairly young team, Captain Lou Morgan and head coach Jimmy King are excited for the rest of the season and believe that success can be attained.
We have a heavy sophomore freshman population on the team this year, which has been it's been really exciting to work with, just because it gives a bit more power to the seniors to kind of shape them a bit more and influence how they progress up into their junior and senior years.
Swing back with Carly, match up with Carly on the drive. You're a little bit behind her. All right, everyone, check your matchups. Check that person in front of you. Make sure we're swinging those backs open together on the drive.
The team has several meets ahead, including Duquesne, Temple, the George Mason Invitational, and the Big 12 Championship in Tennessee.
And so every weekend of racing, we're looking to make another step forward, take another step forward, building on those building blocks that I talked about earlier, trying to put it all together so that we're at our best speed by the time Big 12 Championship rolls around.
That story was shot and produced by Chris Scopoletti and Kevin Zhao. The WVU women's rowing team will be back on the water later this month when they take on teams from Kansas, Virginia, and Duquesne, and hopefully a national championship. CJ and Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Andrew. And that's going to do it for our special edition of WVU News, the 360 Experience. You can visit us online on our website.
You can also watch any of our shows on YouTube, and please follow us and our reporters on Twitter. I'm Kristen Toole.
And I'm CJ Harvey. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take credits, take CG. Advance. Advance credits. Advance credits. And take copyright. And ready to fade to black and fade out music in 15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fade to black and fade out audio.